Testing. I,
It wasn't going before.
I wasn't catching our voice. I thought I had it working, but must have stopped. Hey, let's try again.
All right, cool. Oi, oi, welcome. Yeah, we're just gonna get into it. Who cares? It's Mystery on the Train episode.
Explosive Bullet Train, episode 5.
Yep. They're on a train. He sees the two guys that gave him a pill, and he goes to investigate. We learned that he has a new microphone in his glasses, and he has kinetic shoes that allow him to kick faster. And he goes to investigate them, and he sees that they're holding some weird briefcase, and he's like, I need to know what's in this briefcase. And he later on, as he's running around with his friends, he sees their faces, and he realizes, oh, this isn't the
They're too
actual
ugly to
people.
be them.
Yeah, they're not. They look the same, similar. They're like wearing like they got the same haircuts, same outfits,
I
but
think,
their faces aren't the same.
yeah, the skinnier guy just has a much bonier face than
Yep.
the actual black organization member. Because I don't think they've said their names yet, so I don't think they did in the first episode. So I don't want to say them.
Okay. Anyways, they he realizes that they're wrong people, and then he can hear them anyways because he notices after when he sees them a second time, he notices that the briefcases that they had were different. So there was like a swap or something. So he goes to listen in on what they're talking about. And they're like, "Yeah, we got 100 million yen delivering this briefcase, but don't worry, I put a bomb into it, and people are gonna die when it hits a certain time or whatever." And
Or
now
it gets
Conan,
bumped.
yeah, now Conan has to solve the case uh, in 40 minutes, or else everybody on the train is gonna die.
While also dealing with Ron basically on his heels and the three
Ron, who's
kids
he?
ran.
Oh, got it.
And the three annoying kids also on his heels just because they want to have fun.
Yeah, well, they're kids, so it makes sense that they're
They're
stupid
annoying.
and annoying. Yeah. Um, so he has to determine this really quick. So he determines that the person was non-smoking. Determines what car they're in, and he goes there and he
He
asks some of the
determines
people.
they're non-smoking because one of the culprits said that it was about time he could smoke. So
Yep.
that
Anyways, long story
and a
short.
scenic view.
Yep. Anyways, long story short, they get to um, they find he finds the person, and it's some like lady. Um, and there's like he went to other people and was like trying to be a kid about it, and they had pissed. This guy kept he's doing like business. He's like, oh, I want to play games, and this guy kept hitting him.
A stockbroker.
Yeah, he kept like literally hitting him in front of other people, and people were just like, whatever. He's just hitting
Wait,
a kid. No
on
big
that,
deal.
um, on that, in that uh, train or whatever that's called, on that car, we have the stockbroker who kept hitting Conan, an old man that likes Disneyland, a yakuza, and the previously mentioned lady.
Yeah, so he determines that this lady is the one uh, that has the bomb, and she mentioned she's like, I was never in the diner car, and she was like lying about it.
Lying about the view and
Yep. And at the very end, um, he realizes that she's the one with the bomb, and it's on her cell phone. And so he goes and runs up to her and kicks the briefcase out of the train, and it explodes. And she's gets arrested for him getting inside trading information, and then the two guys get arrested for trying to kill people on the train. That's pretty much episode 5.
And nobody's really introduced in this episode. We have Conan, Ran, Agasa, the professor, Mori, Genta, Mitsuhiko, and Ayumi, and everybody else is just one episode characters.
Yeah. So case wise, it was just a matter of time before he was gonna solve it. Like you knew he was gonna solve it, but it was just like how were you gonna do it? And he was able to do it in 40 minutes, which is shows his character that he's really smart. But we already knew that. So, anyways, next episode.
Let me stop and start. Oh, now we're gonna review episode 6.
Cool. Episode 6.
We
Which
just
one
did
was that one?
episode 5. It was the Valentine murder case.
Oh, the Valentine murder case. Yeah, this is the one where death by chocolate, pretty much. Uh, Ron or Ran or Ron or
Ran.
Ran Ron, Ran Ron, Ron Ran. Um, she's talking with her friend, and they're like, "Oh my God, remember when you talked to those guys that one time that nobody knows about? Yeah, we're gonna get invited to this Valentine's Day party." So they get invited, and Rand gets invited by this muscular guy, and he's like, "Oh, come." It's standard tradition for the girl to make chocolate, and if the guy eats it, then he likes her. Blah blah blah. Some random garbage, and of course, Conan gets jealous, and so he tags along to the party. He pretends like he's playing.
Because he wants to know who Ran made the chocolate for.
Yeah, some muscular dude, and they're all in like university at some club. Some I don't know that I didn't catch what kind of club it was. It doesn't really matter because they're all like there and having a good time, and the guy who's hosting, his mom is doing the cooking. She's in a kimono, and uh, you can tell her son's being a dick. He's just in a bad mood. He gets drunk and he's just like, don't talk to me like that. You can't talk to me like that. And then he runs out of cigarettes, and this other quiet kid um, gave him
Cigarette.
his cigarette, and then he was out in the back outside smoking, and then he dies, and everybody's like, "Oh my God, what's happening? Why did my son is dead?" Blah blah blah, and then they get into it. Long story short, the it wasn't the colleague that did it. It
No.
was his mom that did it.
Stepmom.
Stepmom. We learned that it wasn't his actual mom. It was stepmom or aunt. Is
Yeah.
actually his aunt.
Who wanted the insurance money?
Yep. Because her husband's business failed. So it turns out that the coffee was the poison, and the cake was the antidote to the poison. And
Which Conan realizes because the victim's cousin had some of the coffee, and the mom rushed the kid to eat some cake.
yeah, after they mentioned that he had a cavity and wasn't supposed to have any sweets. So that was that episode. That was a tricky. I thought it was a sniper, like forcing the chocolate down the
Or
guy's throat.
they also yeah,
They thought the poison was in the chocolate,
and the cigarette.
and then like it's funny how like the guy who gave him the cigarette was like, yeah, I was planning on killing him, but
he poisoned the filter, but they
He took off the
yeah,
filter.
the guy cut off the filter before smoking the cigarette. So we don't even know. He should have gotten jail time too
He should
for
have.
attempted murder.
Yep. He should have.
But we
But that
don't
was
see.
that was that one. No, we don't see what happens. They're like, slap on the wrist. You're fine.
Really,
He's
the
already dead.
only new we see here a little bit in the previous episodes, but we see a little more of Rand's school friend Sonoko, who's really annoying in my opinion.
Yeah, aren't all teenage girls annoying? Oh my god, a boy talked to me. Oh my god.
This girl, she even looks annoying in the picture.
Uh huh. All right, so that's episode 6.
And now on to episode 7.
Episode 7. Detective Conan. Which one is this one?
Once a month present threat.
Oh, right. This is the some surgeon guy comes into the office of this detective, well known detective, and he's like, somebody keeps sending me like toys and a million yen per month, and it's been going on for like 2 years, and it's really weird. And the detective is like, no, there's nothing weird here. Yeah, you're fine. And then Conan's like, wait a minute, no, there's something weird going on. So they all take him into the hospital,
First
and
of all, Conan realizes he's a surgeon because he has indent marks where he holds the sutures as he's
yep,
sewing people up.
mm-hmm. And this one was kind of complicated, but this one was, it wasn't really about the like. There wasn't any murder in this one. There was just attempted murder. But basically, um, this this man whose son died from a botched surgery from an appendicitis. Um, he wanted revenge on this surgeon's son for his son dying at the age of 5. So he, over the course of 2 years, he kept sending him toys and money, and he's literally about to kill this child, and he has a knife, and then Conan's like, "Oh look, a soccer ball," and he engages his shoes, and he kicks the soccer ball
Through a railing.
through a railing into this guy's hand and knock the knife out of his hand before he kills this
And it
kid.
lodged into a tree.
Yeah, and then and instead of like calling the cops, the surgeon's like, oh, this guy, yeah, yeah, he's not bad anymore, because even though he literally just tried to murder my son, he's not bad. I was a father too, and he was explaining like grief overwhelmed him, and he wanted the surgeon to feel the same feeling that he felt, but it was appendicitis, but they took him in too late, so he was gonna. There was nothing he could do.
And they mainly took him in late because the father was very obstinate about it.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with the kid. Yeah, no big deal.
They didn't really say it, but the surgeon basically insinuated that the dad didn't want the kid to have the surgery.
Yeah, he needed to tough it out. Anyways, but what was more prevalent about this show is this is the first time, even though it's so early, she Ran notices that I don't know his other name,
Similarities between Conan and Shinichi.
Shinichi, which is the
Adult. Yep.
teenager version of Conan, um, and she even tests him by saying, "Oh, great work, Shinichi," and he turns around and be like, "Oh, thanks," and he goes, "Oh, crap, I said that out loud." kind of thing, and she's like slowly discovering, oh wait, is this Shinichi or not? And immediately she realizes, oh crap! In the like second episode, I revealed that I like Shinichi, and now she's like super embarrassed. Yeah,
There's one,
people
or
are dumb.
since we're about done, I wanted to do this with the last three, but I forgot. Mention some of the trivia behind the episode. The last episode was the first filler episode. So the first case that was not in the manga. The Valentine one.
Okay.
So that's why I didn't remember it so much, because I didn't read it when I reread them when I read the manga a year ago. Because I remember a lot from it, but like I remember all the cases that we watched today, just not all the logistics of it. As we mentioned, first time Ren becomes suspicious, and then this also marked the 10th day since Shinichi became Conan. So that means Conan shrunk on February 9th, because this was took place on February 19th.
Oh yeah.
And that was episode 7.
Cool.
And now on to
Episode 8, which was
episode 8,
I don't remember what episode 8
the
was.
art museum.
Oh yeah, the art museum. So this one is basically there's like a weird suit of armor that's like running around at night and it freaks people out. And so that gets, of course, that gets people to go to the museum. And then there was a murder by said suit of armor in the Hell Gallery. And of course, before the murder happens, of course, the people, the main characters, have to go to the art museum.
Conan, Ran, and Mori.
Yep. And they go there to view art, and they notice that uh, someone bought the art gallery, and they were going to shut it down. And
They also notice there's a very clumsy helper, museum helper,
mm-hmm.
that doesn't really care at all about the art pieces.
Yep. And
Like he starts touching a painting without gloves. He's having trouble moving a suit of armor. Literally throws the helmet at the armor.
yeah, he does. And he gets yelled at by the old guy who runs the art gallery for not wearing gloves. So he's kind of all pissy, wishy-washy kind of guy. Anyways, so of course they go through into a section that says "Do not enter," and they're like, "Oh, there's one more room we got to look at," and then they find the body of the guy that's gonna buy the art gallery, and they're like, "Oh no, he's dead!" And there's like a sword like literally through him, and they
Hanging him to the wall.
yep. And then it's significant because there is a one of the pieces of art is a picture of a knight that had just slain a demon, and the demon had a sword right through him, just like the guy who was murdered did. Um, so of course, they're like, "Oh no, we got to call the cops." And the first thing that happens is the main detective is like, it looks at the
Megure.
dad, and he's
What
like,
are you doing here?
yeah, exactly. He's like, I just happen to be here, no big deal. Anyways, so they get some footage and they notice that this guy was like writing something down. They're like, oh, look, a pen, blah, blah, blah. Anyways, long story short, it was the creepy weird guy who was like who didn't wear gloves that did it. Oh wait, no, it wasn't. Psych. It was the old man. Now, why did the old man do it? He did it because of the demon in the guy that bought it. He said when he bought it, he was going to leave the art gallery up, but then he double crossed them and was going to put up a hotel instead. So um, it was Kunichi, I think that's what his name was.
Kenichi. Or
Yeah,
Shinichi.
no. The guy that was framed. The clumsy guy that
Kubota.
was framed.
Kubota.
Kubota. Kubota was framed like his name Kubota. The name Kubota was on a
Written
piece
on
of
a
paper,
card.
and it showed like in the security camera him writing something down, and it was like, oh crap, he wrote the killer's name down. Of course, Conan looks at the pen and is like, wait a minute, this pen doesn't even work. But that doesn't make any sense. Um, so Conan smartly was just like, huh, hey, mister, where's the bathroom? And he's like, oh, it's down this hall, take a left. He's like, no, can you write it down? He takes out the pen, the, uh, the pen that didn't work, indicating that he did it, and, and he tried to write stuff down, but he couldn't. And so that led to the Rand's dad, seeing that there was no ink on this pen. It was just an indent, and you could see the indent and stuff, indicating that the killer had the pen that didn't work. Wow. And so, in conclusion, the old guy wanted to frame the clumsy guy because he was selling a bunch of art pieces for extra cash, and he wanted him to take the blame for the murder. And they were talking about like the symbolism of the art and how um, in the art picture the story is this knight slays this demon. However, because some of the demon's blood gets on the knight himself, he becomes corrupt himself. And so the old man is just like, oh yes, I become a demon myself by killing this man. But
And one of the kind of indirect signs that he was the killer was just how like he knew the placement of the camera and how he kind of tried to portray the the portrait or the painting with
yeah,
the kill.
and he took down the art before he killed the guy on the wall because he cares about art and stuff. That was another thing. But this one wasn't a bad episode.
This was
Definitely worth watching just to see this old, like, who would have thought like an old man dressed in this suit of armor could be swift enough to kill this guy. I mean, he swung at him like 3 or 4 times, and then finally stabbed him with the sword. So that's pretty good.
back when I first watched this originally. This was probably one of my favorite episodes.
Yeah, it's pretty good. And then, all right, so that episode's done.
There's no trivia, no new characters. On to the last episode of the day, episode 9.
Cool.
Tenkaichi Night Festival Murder.
This one was cool because this one was special because you get to see who the murderer is right away, and how was Conan gonna solve the case? And so basically, what it is that these two guys are in a hotel, and one of the guys puts on a mask and he kills the other guy while he's brushing his teeth. What a dick! And he runs away and he goes right to the festival and he's like, I need an alibi. So he runs into Conan and Ran and her dad, and they take pictures of him, and he's like, hey, look, I have an alibi. And there's this detective, I don't remember his name, but he recognizes the dad, Rand's dad, and he's like, oh my god, I love all your cases. Conan's like, those are the cases I solved. He didn't solve anything. And uh, they go through they go back to the hotel. He gets this man gets dragged back to the hotel after getting pictures, and he's like, "Hey, look, I got a sweet alibi." He's smiling. Right after his friend died, he happens to have a story written for this uh, um, article or whatever, the literature magazine or whatever.
It's like
It was
kind
super
of like a
convenient.
manga. They're kind of doing like a book or like a short, like a manga, I believe.
Okay, and and so this guy's is like, hey, there's no way I could do it. Like, it's funny because the detective that worships Rand's dad, he's he's like on. He's like, hey, I don't suspect you. I suspect you. I suspect you. I suspect you. And he's like, yeah, I don't. I'm not wearing a watch, so I didn't know what time it was. Um, I have an alibi. Got my picture taken. And long story short, this guy like a year ago took a picture of him in front of a certain part of the festival, and like this festival is like Tenichi. Oh, Tenkaichi,
Tenkaichi. Yep.
Tenkaichi Festival. So each mountain gets lit up with Tenkaichi on it, on each part separately. And depending on what time it is, they light one and then they do like the second one and like the third one. And there's a certain amount of time it takes for the fire to go away. So a year ago, he got his picture taken in front of the first um, symbol that gets lit up, and then he was able to drive to this place right after the murder, and he took a picture, making it look like he was there. Um, because of the first picture, it made him look like he was there the entire time. Um, but they find out that the thing that does him in is like his tan lines of his watch. A year ago, he didn't have a tan line, and now he has a tan line, and that's kind of what did him in, um, among other things as well. That was the final proof of evidence. So this one was different in that we get to see the murderer first, and you have to solve it. But he eventually solves it, and um, he does his make the Rand's dad fall asleep trick, and he does the voice um, to hide his to make it sound like he's the dad, which is kind of a sweet thing. This time he had a balloon with him, and didn't really work out as well, but he got the job done, and he's just like, I just wanted my friend. He got uh, he got his story published and not me, and this was my last. This I needed to kill him to get my story published, kind of thing, and
Agreed.
yeah, it's like, bro, just write something better.
And,
But that's that episode. So
this episode did introduce one new character that will appear a few times. Inspector Yokimizu.
yeah,
Let's see if I can. Nope. It. Yeah. It. There's no picture of him. Or no, this is a different. This is the other one. Yeah, this guy. This is a picture from later on, but as you can tell, there's better. It's better animated.
yeah. So that's episode 8,
9.
9, and that was the last one we saw.
I think when we
And
do these, especially if we don't do like a movie beforehand, 5 is kind of a good episode amount.
mm-hmm.
Because even I get a little antsy at the end. But we'll do more episodes eventually. Probably, I don't know.
When we feel like it. So suck it.
Maybe Friday. Maybe, probably not. But we'll do it when we do it.
Yep.
So I know.
Okay, bye. It's like a bitch.